Come on, Livingston. We gotta go on and on and on. Together we can make it. We gotta go on and on and on. Come on, Livingston.
Knocks it through. Mullen bursting into the box. Josh Mullen.
Together we can make it.
Mullen's ball across, it's turned in! It's Pittman who's got it! Livingston leads!
Road is long.
Can they get the ball back in? O'Brien. Lead! And Livingston have the lead! Man, can score.
If we march together.
The full-time whistle blows and David Hayes celebrates. And the Livingston fans join in exultation.
Come on, Livingston.
Livingston have the lead against Rangers, and they are certainly rising to a few occasions on their return to the top flight in Scotland.
Come on, Livingston. We gotta go.
Hello and welcome back to Talk Livi, the podcast dedicated to everything Livingston Football Club and Scottish football. My name's Euan and today I'm joined by Angus as always. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, not bad. The tide has turned ever since I pointed out that, we always lose. Although we don't have any victories to talk about this week, still very, very happy week to be talking about Livingston Football Club. So, yeah, happy to be on. Let's get into it.
And as always, you can find this episode as well as all our other episodes on your preferred podcast streaming site. Just search for Talk Livi and follow us or subscribe to ensure that you don't miss another episode.
We'll start the episode off by discussing the Lions battling midweek draw with an informed Dundee United.
Next up was a daunting trip to Celtic Park, where despite some late drama, the Lions managed to come away with a superb point.
It's the return of What Does Your Fox In, as we discuss some of the things that wind us up in the world of football.
And finally, we'll discuss our next game as Hibs make the short trip to the Tony Macaroni Arena.
On Wednesday night, Dundee United were the visitors to West Lothian. Despite playing half the game with 10 men, the Lions held firm to secure a well-earned 1-1 draw. Euan, what did you make of the game?
Yeah, it was quite an interesting one, I thought. I think kind of first 15 minutes or so, I think Dundee United looked pretty good. To be honest, I think they kind of dominated the ball for the early stages of the game. We spoke about it, kind of previewing it. Having seen them up close now, I can see why there's been a bit of turn in the tide for Dundee United, because they looked a lot better than last year in terms of in possession and their movement and their creativity. I mean, they had a chance kind of first couple of minutes where Pollitt came across the near post and he's put it well wide in the end, but it's a good chance nonetheless. But I think we were almost trying to draw Dundee United in a little bit and play on the counter, because I think our best opportunities all came on the counter through the likes of Forrest and Bailey out in the wide areas. And I think we managed to start stretching the game. We worked our way into the game. Ben Williamson had an effort, kind of edge of the box. He's fizzed over the bar. And I think when we took the lead, I think we were probably on top at that point in the game. And, Forrest is unlucky initially. We obviously win the corner. It's a good delivery by Bailey. Fitzwater, good contact on the header, arguably should score, to be honest. It's a free header. Seagrass has made the save, and obviously we've got that bit of luck where it's came off the back of Nicky Clark and trickled over the line. But, the goal's a bit frustrating for me, the one we've conceded. Don't get me wrong, Boyle Levitt, it's a fantastic through ball to Niskanen, but I think we were really static. Fitzwater and Nicky Devlin are certainly the closest to Niskanen, and I don't think anyone really picks up the run. And that's ended up drawing Sean Kelly out of position to try and block the cut back, and Pollitt's obviously got an easy tap in. But the big talking point was just before half time, where Ben Williamson's red card, certainly in real time, I didn't think a great deal of it. If anything, I actually missed the red card getting given because I was so busy moaning about the player's reaction, Declan Glassey's reaction, because you could hear him scream from probably Pumpherston. And I was genuinely just more angry about the players' reaction, which I'm sure will be a consistent theme going into the Celtic game as well. Player reactions, but when I saw it back at half time, it's a clear red card for me. I think he's late. He's over the top of the ball. He's planting down on his ankle. It's a daft tackle, and it is a red card. And it's something we spoke about with Ben Williamson kind of throughout the season. He does have that little bit of a nasty streak in him, that tenacity that he has to try and win the ball. But in that situation, it's one of those tackles he doesn't really need to go in for, because Glass isn't going anywhere. It's a nothing area of the pitch for me, and it's given us an uphill battle second half. But fair play to the team. They dug in. We obviously went to kind of 2 banks of 4 and played Alan Forrest up top of his own. I think he did a really good shift up there. He was managing to try and pull the likes of Mulgrew and Edwards out of position and spin into the wide areas. And to be honest, we had a really good chance where how a free kick's not been given on Nicky Devlin for a start, I don't know. But Nicky's managed to get back up, and he's put the ball across, and Pitts is inches away from a tap-in to put us 2-1 up. But, we showed, it's something we spoke about earlier in the season, Angus, where we were not seeing that kind of Livi character of old, and we managed to really dig in and restrict Dundee United. Mulgrew had a pop shot from 30 yards, which, looked like it was flying in. It's a good save from Max. And then I think Biamu had a header later on, and it's a fantastic save by Max down low to his right. And, we dug in, and I think we totally deserved the draw, to be honest, for the discipline that we showed, especially in the second half when we were down to 10 men. And we really restricted Dundee United despite being a man less. And, we're starting to see those battling qualities in the last few weeks, which we've come to associate with our team since the kind of back-to-back promotions. And that's given me a lot of cause for optimism that we're starting to see. We spoke a few weeks ago about that little bit of an identity crisis, but I'm starting to see that Livi of old coming back in. And that's a kind of theme that will carry on through this podcast this week, certainly with the result at Celtic Park, which we'll go on to. But delighted with the point. I would have taken a point before the game with Dundee United's form, but absolutely delighted given the manner and how the game panned out.
Because I completely agree, and you're absolutely spot on regarding that. That kind of effort that kind of shown through in the end was very much that of Livi teams in the past. It's exactly what I tweeted after the game. Basically, it was like, the last 3 games we'd had, a 3-0 win against St Johnstone, 3-2 win against Ross County, and obviously a draw with Dundee United. For me, the draw against Dundee United is head and shoulders the best performance out of all 3 of them, which does sound mental when, you've got, a 3-0 tanking, well, not a 3-0 tanking, a 3-0 victory at McDiarmid Park, and then obviously like a last minute winner. But yeah, that performance of just, we just look so up for it. We look so up for getting every second ball. I mean, playing, with a 2 midfield against a 3 is hard enough at the best of times. And to do that with then 10 men, so we had like a player less kind of, pressing from the front or at the back line or whatever like that. But I thought Scott Pittman and Jason Holt in that Dundee United game both were exemplary of what we kind of expect from a Livingston team. They were absolutely everywhere, battling for every ball, winning every, getting just, not even, winning tackles or just taking up spaces, or even just getting wee toes to balls that, flicks it a certain way that, it frustrates Dundee United so much that they can't really do anything. And I think that's the most telling thing is that we were playing a Dundee United side who was so in form, who were playing a lot of nice kind of stuff. You mentioned that at the start of the first half that they were playing some good things. When we got down to 10 men and our backs were supposedly against the wall, it wasn't as if they were properly peppering the goal. They couldn't find a way around us. They couldn't find a way through us. Obviously, they had Mulgrew he had quite a few shots from distance in the end, which, a player of his quality, yeah, fair enough. But, you're fine for that to happen. If you'd rather somebody be taking 40-yard shots, if he beats you for there, you've just kind of got to hold your hands up in those instances and, accept it. The header is the only other one. But then, Striek again, we keep on talking about, and it's going to be another thing that we talk about in the Celtic game as well. But it's just some kind of strange season that he's having where, these kind of amazing saves just get kind of plucked out of nowhere. And in a game where, he was kind of largely untested for the most part. So obviously there's been things that have been said about his concentration and whatnot. I think that's a good example of, him kind of taking that critique on board and, doing something about it and making himself a better goalkeeper. And yeah, fair play to him and doing tremendously well right now because of that. But yeah, a point against Dundee United, I think everybody would have taken it. I mean, I'm pretty sure all three of our predictions were either 0-0 or 1-1, right?
Yeah, me and you managed to bag 3 points for the one each predictions, but it was a game that we were all fairly confident we could get something from, just to kind of pick up on a couple of the performances you mentioned, kind of individuals. Jason Holt, once again, I feel this is becoming a regular thing on the podcast. He's certainly been one of the standouts for us this year, but I thought he was unreal on Wednesday night. He was unbelievable, and I think there was moments where you saw his experience come through. It's very easy when you're down to 10 men and just to try and relieve a bit of pressure, you can go and launch it up the park or launch it into a channel or something like that. But there was 3 or 4 occasions where he picked the ball up under pressure and just kept the hold of the ball and managed to kind of brush off 2 or 3 challenges and keep possession. And I thought that was something that was really evident on Wednesday night, was we weren't just kicking it long, kicking it in and getting back into a shape. I think when we did get the ball, we were trying to be, conservative and trying to keep a hold of the ball where we could. There was a couple of wee tactical tweaks that Davey made I thought were quite intelligent. He put Fitzwater out to right back and put Nicky for the last kind of half hour, 20 minutes out on the right hand side to try and get Nicky using what he's very good at. His pace, try to get him behind and offer us an out ball out that side as well. And obviously, Fitzy adds to another body in the box in terms of physical presence when we were under pressure. But I have to say it was a fantastic team performance, thoroughly deserved point. And it led us, it was probably, in the end, it proved to be quite good preparation for going to Celtic Park and putting men behind the ball, didn't it, for the second half? It was a unexpected training exercise, the second half for the game against Celtic. So, but yeah, I can't echo how proud I am of the team's performance in that. And as you say, despite the couple of wins prior to that, I think I came away most satisfied from that game because of that a little bit of fight and that bit of dig that we showed to get a point on the board on Wednesday night.
100%. The St Johnstone game, we did play well. You can also look at it though, you can see like some of the defending for the St Johnstone goals are, completely diabolical. The Ross County performance was not good. And a couple of moments of brilliance that saved us. That performance there, it's what we've been kind of talking about. It's that, we looked like a team. We looked like we had like an actual game plan. Sadly, we couldn't really go too much into the attacking side of it because of like the red card, but it was just good to see, we still have that grit and determination that, in all honesty, could be the difference at the end of the season that could keep us up or that. If we keep on playing like that, then I think most of us, will be fairly confident that we can do so. A stark contrast to, a couple of weeks ago, but yeah, we're just going to keep going. Hopefully this is a sign of more things to come. Seemed about this time last year that we went on that run. Not saying that we're going to go on that again, but we'll take 13 games. We'll be fair to them, and we'll take 13 games unbeaten this time, I think, Euan.
Next up was a daunting trip to Celtic Park where, despite some late drama, the Lions managed to come away with a superb point. Angus, how did you feel after that game? It was certainly a bit, last few minutes certainly made for some interesting viewing. What were your views on the game?
From the first minute to the last minute, the last second, just absolute anxiety and then just pure ecstasy as soon as that final whistle went. All these games away from home at Celtic Park and Ibrox, you're always just kind of sitting there and you're taking it basically by 10 minute. I feel like you will that storm for the first 10 minutes and you're like, all right, cool, let's get to the next one. Right, let's get to the next one. And then you're like, all right, we'll get to half time. Then you get to half time and you're like, oh, okay, like maybe something's brewing here. But then it isn't until like I'm not going to lie, it's not until like the 90th minute that I actually start to believe that, we could actually get something here. You always just feel like something's going to go wrong. And what an absolute fool I am for you maybe thinking that, because the 92nd minute, when I started to get my hopes up a wee bit, a moment of madness almost costs us. But you've got to take it for that feeling that we got when that penalty was saved and, just unbelievable. It's those kind of moments that you really, really cherish as like a football fan, especially a team like ours who, I think prior to this we'd only picked up points twice at Celtic Park beforehand. So, it doesn't come around too often, but what an absolute moment. But yeah, just to go into the game itself, I mean, Celtic, obviously had, most of the ball, but you look at like the chances that were created. I mean, they didn't really do an awful great deal to, properly, they had the ball a lot, but there's not really many things that you're looking at and being like, oh, they should have scored from there. They had this glorious chance. There was one that Fitzwater cleared off the line, but in the first half, I don't really recall of anything that was, overly troubling. I mean, Ralston had a good couple of crosses down the right-hand side, but Shriek came and got basically every one of them. It wasn't as if, they were whistling past like the goal and the likes of, Giakoumakis or Turnbull or that were just missing it by like an inch or anything like that. Like, they were getting into kind of areas but not really doing anything. So whole great credit to, that back line, and you've been playing in a back five probably for the first time as a starting unit, the likes of, Parks, Kelly, Fitzwater, Ayo and Devlin. Up against, Giakoumakis, Jota and was it Abada as well, Jota in particular has been an absolute electrifying player. So yeah, going into the second half, I think we all expected, the same kind of thing to happen. I mean, anything else would be kind of ridiculous to not expect. But again, kind of felt kind of a similar way that, Celtic had 85% of possession, but I wouldn't ever really say that, we're not coming away from this game being like, oh man, like Shrieks had to make like 9-10 like amazing saves to like keep us in this game. We just did all the simple stuff, and it's carried on from, the Dundee United game. We just got our bodies in the way. I mean, Omiyonga came in for Pittman, basically gave the exact same performance. He was absolutely everywhere any time that a Celtic player got the ball, rushing out to them. Same with Holt, same with everybody. Everybody worked themselves into the ground, and you get to that kind of later stages in the game and you're starting to dream a little bit. But of course, got to go into that moment where it all almost came crashing down. I think I was definitely going to have to be, thankful to the team for bailing him out here. It's such a ridiculous kind of moment that you're left scratching your head as to why you've done that. Yes, Kyogo does push Shriek and then pushes Ayo, but there's no excuse for that kind of reaction, I don't think. And it's not overly malicious. It is, a wee slap in the back of the head, and Kyogo does make the most of it. Kyogo, I would say, like, since joining the league, I was like, oh, that's a great player to have in this league. I really enjoyed watching him. What an absolute wee idiot for diving about like that. Screw him. That's him gone now. that's his reputation out the window. But yeah, you can't really argue with it. So yeah, 92nd minute, you're just expecting that goal to go in and to be heartbroken. I was supposed to be going to a Halloween party with, a good couple of Celtic fans as well. So I was like, oh great, this is going to be all I'm going to hear. But then thankfully Giakoumakis does one of these stupid two-step penalties, and Shriek easily catches it, and absolute ecstasy from there on. I can imagine us all just jumping up and down, celebrating it as if it was a goal. And yeah, thankfully we were able to hang on until the end. But it's quite weird to say, and there might be like Celtic fans who might listen to this and say like otherwise. I know we only had 15% of possession. Can I say that we didn't deserve a point for the way that we defended and that we worked tirelessly? Absolutely. And like, we did deserve a point. That performance very much merited a point. I don't care what anybody says about, the kind of style of football that we played or what we did with the ball. We defended like no team like has been able to do at Celtic Park. When was the last time somebody, I think this is the first clean sheet somebody's kept at Celtic Park under Ange Postecoglou. I mean, this is a team who's taken, 6 off of Dundee. Is it not 6 off of St Mirren or 5 off of St Mirren? Yeah. We've went in there and kept a clean sheet again. Twice this season we've played, the top goal scorers in the league, and we haven't conceded a shot. We haven't conceded a goal yet. So it always happens, when you play one of the old firm and you take points off them, there's always some excuse, but they've got to be realistic here and look at it and say that, we thoroughly deserve to take something away from that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think we totally merited. I think we merited that point in the end. I'll issue an apology to Nicky Devlin straight away. Nicky obviously tweeted us when we put up our predictions after the game with a bit of a funny gif, just insinuating what do we know, and he's perfectly right. What the hell do we know? So we'll never. I
just want to say that those two pressured me into putting one a big result. I had absolutely no doubt in the team at all. I just got peer pressured into it.
But Nicky and the team, we sincerely apologise for doubting you. Be honest, we were never in doubt. It was purely reverse psychology and to really psych you up for the game. So we'll count it as an assist for the point. But no, in all seriousness, the players were absolutely fantastic at the weekend. They were absolutely brilliant. As you say, first half, I think we had a lot of crosses into our box, in particular the right-hand side with Abada and Ralston down that side. But as you say, Max didn't really have any difficulty with the crosses. He dealt with them very well, other than the effort Ralston's had that Fitzy's cleared off the line. Very little created. Granted, we didn't create an awful great deal first half in an attacking sense, but we defended our box with a bit of pride. And obviously, you mentioned that tweaking shape, going to a back five and a kind of four in front as well. Credit to Andrew Shinnie, who's come straight back in from injury. Probably the worst shift you would want as a midfield run out against Celtic at Celtic Park when you've been out for kind of 3-4 weeks. So fair play to him as well. He put in a great shift. And second half, it was much of the same. But incident that you didn't mention, which did involve Ayo as well, is the penalty claim that we had. It reminded me very much, I don't know if you remember the 5-0 game against Hearts with the penalty we got when Zlamals cleaned out Halkett in there. Very, very similar to that. Now, anywhere else on the park, that's a foul. The fact that a goal kick's been given suggests that Joe Hart's got nothing on the ball. He has punched Ayo in the face. How on God's earth is that not a penalty kick? And it's the sort of decision, the old firm have been banging on this week about, conspiracies. They don't get these things. They don't get those things. See, when a team like us go to Celtic Park, we don't get those decisions. And we should have had a penalty to go 1-0 up in that game. I can't for the life of me fathom out how a penalty kick's not been given, having seen it back again multiple times. Despite that, we still hung in. Again, Celtic had created very little. And the other big moment with Ayo involved is the penalty kick. Now, I mean, I was at Celtic Park and we were tucked away in the far corner from where the incident happened. And again, it was a bit like the Dundee United one. You just heard this big roar come up from obviously the Celtic end, and you're going, what the hell's happened? And you saw the red card come out. Now, initially, we thought it was Max. We thought Max had done something, and I listened to, obviously, watch Sportscene, and Max kind of thought the same. He thought, what have I done? Because the incident's kind of happened just behind him, but you've got to look at it and go, what's going through Ayo's head when you've managed to go 92 minutes at Celtic Park with a clean sheet? You're minutes away from getting a point. And it's just a moment of madness. I have no arguments with the red card. It's a red card because you can't do that. You've given the referee a decision to make, but also the reaction by Kyogo, I hope we'll send him some grapes and a get well soon card because of the reaction that he had. Jesus Christ, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing, the reaction from Kyogo. And as you say, he's been really exciting since joining Scottish football, but that sort of stuff can fucking do one. I'll put it as bluntly as that. It's and then he's smiling as Giakoumakis goes to take the penalty. He knows exactly what he's doing. And as you say, I was just been suckered in to giving a reaction. But I was one of the 50-odd folk that got to leave Celtic Park very, very happy at the weekend. Obviously, was running down the front, giving it big licks to the 60,000 Celtic fans when Max has saved it. But to be honest, we had a scare right the last kick of the ball where the ball's flashed across our goal. Forrest has mishit it, and then Giakoumakis has stuck a toe out and it's managed to trickle past the post. But to go to Celtic Park and your goalkeeper have one save to make, I think deserves a lot of credit, especially as you say, this Celtic team in particular at Celtic Park have been carving teams open for fun and hitting some big numbers against them in terms of goals that they've scored. So we deserve a lot of credit for our performance. And despite that late drama, to come away with it, you're sitting going when that penalty's given, this is another classic game against the old firm where they get a late decision and you lose the game late on and you go away heartbroken because you came so close. But the players deserved the point that they got. And again, I can't echo how proud I was of the team on the way home, and still am, of the dig and the fight that they showed. Great performance. Bruce Anderson ran himself into the ground early doors. As you mentioned, Omiyonga, Holt in the middle of the park were brilliant. Probably still running. They probably ran home from Celtic Park. And the back three, full backs as well. They blocked everything, cleared everything, headed everything that came into their box, and it was a fantastic team performance. And I think Davey spoke about, we've gone to Celtic Park, I think 3 out of the last 4 seasons and got a 0-0. But I think this is the one I'm probably most proud of, because I remember the first one, Liam, it was a superb performance by Liam Kelly, probably made that kind of 6-7 saves to keep the clean sheet. And then last season we're probably playing against a weakened Celtic side because of the COVID issues that he had at the time. So I'm incredibly proud of the team. They deserved the result. But Angus, you'll be excited to know I've got another edition of weird fan behaviour to come up. I know you enjoyed it last week from Dingwall, and this week it comes from the Celtic fans. It's a great place to go and people watch, is Celtic Park. And there was a young chap who came in dressed as a pink samurai with a Japan flag because of Kyogo. It was safe to say the boy that was behind him when this boy's waving his flag about was not impressed by him. He genuinely looked like he was going to snap any minute during the game. But the most interesting one was probably the Celtic fan who came and sat in the away end with his pack of Walker salt and vinegar crisps. Obviously, the packet's green. And a steward was trying to remove him, to which he was proclaiming, well, it's just another seat, isn't it? Until several Livi fans started shouting towards him, if you sit in the away end, it makes the away crowd 55. And he was, I've never seen someone get up as quickly and be as accommodating to the steward to go back and sit in the home end. It was it was just how quick he moved when you mentioned 55. It was absolutely brilliant. And also the 30 minutes of no singing at the start. Livy fans just begging Celtic, oh, come on, give us a song. Come on, give us a song for the first 30 minutes. It was such a fun away trip. It's the most fun I've had going to one of the Old Firm grounds in a while. But as I say, all round good day, and it was fantastic walking through the hordes of Celtic fans after the game for sure.
That's one of the things that obviously a lot has been kind of also said like this weekend about, the style of play. And I think there's a couple of kind of prominent Scottish football Twitter accounts that have kind of said this as well. I think one of them actually, quite coincidentally, is a Motherwell fan. And on the Saturday, kind of saying about how it's absolutely brutal for us to be watching that kind of a game, Euan, and how, sure, we don't care, you get a point and all of that. For us to do that and then, have fans of other teams like that kind of making those kind of comments, Motherwell in this instance, I mean, no disrespect to them or that, but then the next day for Motherwell to then lose 6-1 to one of the Old Firm, surely people have got to realise what kind of a job has to be done in these kind of games. And however much they want to admit it, do they really want an entertainment factor? And I really put that in quotation marks, rather than, their teams picking up points. It makes me laugh all the time when you hear, sure, Celtic play decent football, Rangers can as well. A couple of teams in the league can really kind of turn it on. But against the Old Firm, who really does play good, attacking, entertaining football? I mean, it does my absolute head in seeing all these people being Livingston should do this to play so nicely for the fans to watch, and that. Absolutely fucking not. Let's get a point and fucking get home. It baffles me, how many seasons this is kind of we've been in here and we take points off them quite consistently, and this is still something that's brought up. Tell you what, I'd rather be where we are right now with a 0-0 draw against Celtic than getting scalped 6-1 at home from Rangers. But what can you do in those kind of instances? I think sometimes people will just see something and, they just can't take it for some reason.
I'll tell you what, Angus, you're going to absolutely love my What Does Your Fox in this week, which we'll come on to next.
As we just briefly implied there, it's the return of What Does Your Fox in, as we discuss some of the things that really grind our gears in the world of football. Euan, I think we should have maybe put a spoiler warning before that last segment in the Celtic game, but what does your Fox in?
It was an unrehearsed spoiler, might add. That wasn't just a clever link into our next segment. Trust me, we're not that good. But no, my What Does Your Fox in is purely reactionary to after the Celtic game and listening to radio phone-ins, watching Twitter, reading Twitter, and the amount of times I saw the phrase anti-football. And it's that phrase of anti-football, which is my what does your fox in this week. Now, I mean, I'll use a couple of examples now. There was a Celtic fan phoned in. I can't remember what radio station it was, but Marvin Bartley was on the radio on Friday night, and he says, "Oh, to get a result against Celtic, you need to do what Dundee United did and come and have a go against us to get a result." And Marv jokingly said, "Oh, we're planning to play 5 up top tomorrow." Now, now we did play a 5, but it was across the back instead. But but here's my argument: Dundee United got a point; they drew 1 each. We got a point; we drew 0-0. Now, is there any pictures to display the score lines? No. We both got a point. Dundee United didn't get a merit point for having a goal. And the last time I looked at the rule book for football, yeah, you have rules such as, fouls, free kicks, offsides, penalties, all this sort of stuff. But I don't think there's any rule for how you actually go about playing the game. And folks seem to have this real snobbery with how teams play at times. Now, Celtic have an enormous budget in comparison to us. If we go to Celtic and try and play expansive open football, they're going to hit us for 5 or 6. What's entertaining about that as a Livingston fan? You don't get any points for that. Whilst the approach we took on Saturday, it got us a point. We got a point at Celtic Park. Now, if you look at the stats, Callum Carson put them up over the weekend. We've played 12 games against Celtic since returning to the top flight, and they've only beat us 4 times. And we have kept 6 clean sheets, 3 of them at Celtic Park. Now, whatever we're doing it right, because we're getting results against them. And I'd hate to see, well, in fact, I'd love to see, how many other teams have managed to have the same success against Celtic over 12 games. I'd struggle to find another team that's got as good a record as we do. And, have they got any points for having a go or trying to attack? Have they? Fuck. Whilst we have. So what's really anti-football? We're the ones getting points out of our anti-football. And, I hate that phrase. It really does my fox in, Angus, because there isn't a specific way that you're meant to play a game. Every football fan would love to see their team play open, expansive football, playing tiki-taka stuff like Pep Guardiola's Barcelona, right? Everyone would love to, but the reality is you can't, because, there's a difference in quality with the players, there's a difference in quality with budgets, etc. Right? Sometimes you need to play to your strengths, which we did at the weekend, and we get a result as a result of it. You don't see these gripes down south when it's an FA Cup tie and Cheltenham go to play Man City. They did come and have a go at Man City. Of course they're not going to fucking have a go at Man City. They're going to sit in and defend for their lives and try and take what they can. Right? I hate that phrase, anti-football, because there is not a specific way that you're meant to play the game of football. That's the beauty of football, is that there's so many ways that you can win a game of football. I always say it, what possession has got to be one of the most useless stats in football. Yeah, typically a team that has more possession will more than likely win the game. Celtic have 85% of the ball and a 4-star keeper to make 1 save over the weekend. Yeah, great. You've had loads of the ball, but you've done absolutely hee-haw with it. We should have had a penalty despite only having 15% of the ball. So there you go. But that's my what does your fox in this week, Angus.
In all honesty, Euan, I think it's absolutely disgraceful that you expect Celtic with 60,000 fans in front of them and, all the resources in the world. I mean, what was it? Did Joe Hart cost 1 million to be bought from Spurs, something like that, I believe, which is also coincidentally the wage budget for our entire team for a season, isn't it? Yeah. It's absolutely ridiculous that you're expecting a team, with that much of an advantage already, to actually do something themselves about it. Really shocking that, however, we decided to, go, you know what, we're not going to concede 6 today. But nah, you're absolutely spot on. It is completely baffling because you then watch Celtic go into Champions League ties and that. I mean, they got scudded 7-0 off of PSG. Was that really entertaining for them to watch and experience? No. Are you? But that's what makes you laugh about it, though, is when the boot's on the other foot, it's fine. And there's no issue with it whatsoever. All these teams, but is it really much of a shock, though, that the Old Firm expect everybody to just bow down to them? I mean, they expect everybody there to be in service of them. If they don't do anything for them, then, they're, for some reason, peeved off about it. At least this time, we never had the Plastic Park for them to moan about. But, plastic grass, red ash, whatever, we'll take them on and we'll still look and see their goal by the looks of things. But, yeah, I'm not really much disagreeing with you here. My what does your fox in is something that relates to this week and relates more to the midweek games. And my what does your fox in is just simply Sky Sports. During the week there.
This is going to be a ding dong, I think, this week between me and you on the polls.
Yeah. 6 games on during midweek. You had Aberdeen versus Rangers. You had, Celtic versus Hibs. Unbeaten Hearts away to St Johnstone. Good couple of cracking games. You also had Ross County pulling out, a 5-0 victory against Dundee. There's not really a headline game on in England. I think the biggest one was Liverpool-Preston. You're like, cool. This is a great opportunity to, showcase like a great game, within our league. Sky Sports Scotland seem to have no interest in that whatsoever. So none of our games got played. And I believe at one point, I think at half-time or something, like 15 goals had been scored in the league. So thanks for that, Sky. But, it just seems even more obvious now that, with each TV deal that we strike with Sky Sports, and I know in many ways the SPFL is to blame, the clubs will be to blame at some point, but how on earth are we supposed to get our game, broadcasted and, make like a good advertisement out of it when we're not going to show any of these cracking games? We can all talk about, how people will say about like how Livingston v Celtic and you can 0-0, that'll get the game shut down. Well, go and show something good then. Go and show Hibs versus Celtic. Like Hibs v Celtic's always usually quite a decent game. Rangers versus Aberdeen, if anything, it's always kind of fiery. It's always a spectacle that's there, and they're much bigger games than whatever was going down in England. But I think it's no secret that, Sky Sports Scotland has, no real interest in, properly delivering a good content for the fans. But that week just highlighted it even more, and I think quite rightfully they're getting some pelters for it.
Now, I've got to agree with you. I think I remember when the deal was kind of expiring and BT had rights to Scottish football, and there was a bit of me that went, I'd almost take less money and have BT cover the game because their coverage was so good of Scottish football, and they had folk on it that had a genuine care for Scottish football. And don't get me wrong, since Sky kind of secured the deal, I do think their coverage has got better in terms of the folk who cover the games. Like, say, a really big fan of Ellie Barber as a presenter. She, St Johnstone fan and genuinely cares about the Scottish game, for example. And I do think their coverage has got slightly better. But as you say, I mean, the midweek games, they're a prime example to have at least, as you say, the kind of headline games, Hibs Celtic, Aberdeen Rangers Aberdeen, sorry. And they were 2 cracking games in the end. There was, you got probably 1 minute of clips on Sky Sports News the following day from that. That's it's not on. And it is quite poor, especially, they would have had a lot of coverage in terms of if Celtic or Rangers were on, for example, their viewing figures would have been pretty decent for a midweek game. So, yeah, I've got to agree with you to an extent on that one. But just to recap, so my what does your fox in this week is the phrase anti-football. And Angus, yours is?
Just Sky Sports being absolute pish.
Hopefully I have enough characters to put Sky Sports being absolute pish. But yeah, guys, we'll get a poll put up during the week, and you can obviously vote to which one does your fox in the most as well. Finally, this week, we welcome Hibs to the Tony Macaroni Arena this weekend in the hope of making it 5 games unbeaten. Angus, how are you feeling ahead of this one? Surely got to be feeling a bit more confident.
Yeah, for sure. I think we've built up that kind of form now that we can, kind of go into these games at home now again and, feel quite confident. Our home form hasn't been the best so far. I don't think we've won a game yet. Strangely, our away form is, what it is doing, picking up most of our points, in all honesty. But yeah, I don't think there's anything that we should really fear here because Hibs aren't in particularly great form. Had like a COVID scare just there, so they'll be playing on Wednesday. So hopefully they might be a wee bit tired as well coming into this match. But yeah, from the way that we've played, the way we've defended, we're going to have to be on kind of top form in that regard. Yet again, we're going to have to be competitive. But what can happen when you play Hibs in these kind of games? If the likes of like Holt and Omyongan that can get about like that Hibs side, it could turn the tide in our favour, in all honesty, because we've seen that happen for us a good couple of times against them. They will be, kind of desperate to, put an end to that bad run of form. And they'll also come with a very good kind of travelling support as well. So it's going to be a good game. But yeah, obviously we'll be missing, Ayo Obalai, so we're going to have to maybe tweak things a little bit. But yeah, I don't think there's any reason as to why we shouldn't go into this one, with kind of confidence that we can get something from it. And it's a game that I'm really looking forward to because, I feel like our games against Hibs are usually kind of decent to an extent. We were very poor against them earlier in the season, and hopefully we'll be looking to, get one back over on them. But yeah, looking into this one kind of fairly confidently. We can just wait now for Hibs to, absolutely scud Ross County during the week, and that might change. But nah, I don't think there's anything that we should particularly fear. Obviously, they've got some great talents up top who can, kind of turn it on. I know there's a lot of Hibs fans who are not impressed with how Kevin Nisbet's been performing, but yeah, it's that kind of a player that he only kind of needs one chance. Obviously, Martin Boyle is, one of the top goal scorers. He's also, he's also a threat of a dive as well in the box every now and then. So got to be very careful of that. But I think it's going to be an interesting game. A team, we're kind of obviously near the bottom, on the rise. Hibs will be looking to, get back into the race for, third, fourth kind of place. So, yeah, an interesting one I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting just having a glance at the league table there. We're only 3 points behind Hibs, and everyone was talking about how good a start Hibs have had to the season, but we're only 3 points behind them. So it's an opportunity to go level on points with Hibs. As you say, recent weeks their form's kind of tailed off. I can't remember how many, but it's either, 4, I think maybe 4 defeats on the bounce for them. So, they'll be looking to try and turn that around. As you say, a bit of a COVID scare, which meant their game was off at the weekend. And hopefully we can take advantage of the fact they need to go up to Dingwall midweek. Hopefully it knackers them out a wee bit and, we can take advantage of that. But, we always talk about it with Hibs. They're a team that if we perform to our strengths in terms of being, nasty in the middle of the park, being aggressive in the middle of the park, we can really upset Hibs and get a foothold in the game. And especially at our place, you're hoping that we can really implement that and get on top of them. But as you say, Nisbet's kind of petered off in terms of his form from the start of the season. Boyle as well has petered off a little bit, albeit they're still big threats. And Porteous is back in. I always think Porteous, there's a mistake in him if you can put him under pressure. So it'll be an interesting game. As you say, Ayo's going to be out, so you'd assume Tom Parks is probably going to come in, just like for like. He'll come in and slot in there at centre half, and it'll be interesting to see what personnel changes. I believe Pitts will probably be back available for the weekend as well, which would be welcome. Obviously, I always think we kind of are a better side when Pitts is involved. So, yeah, I think it could be an interesting game. What sort of tweaks do you think, maybe shape-wise? We obviously saw Andrew Shinnie come in at Celtic Park. Could he maybe come in on the left-hand side? I think Odin Bailey's became a kind of one of the first names in the team sheet for his recent form, so can't see him dropping out. But could you see Shinnie come in on that left-hand side, to add that little bit of creativity, that little bit of spark, which we know he has?
Possibly. It's not who I would pick, obviously.
Who would you pick, Angus? Who the hell would you pick?
It's got to be the best Forrest who was on the parquet on Saturday just there. But yeah, I'm always just a fan of, the natural players playing in those kind of natural wide positions. So yeah, Forrest for me would be the one I'd instantly bring in, put him up against, if it's going to be Chris Cadden or if it's going to be Paul McGinn. I think that performance against Dundee United gives he deserves to be playing in that front three. Front three I think kind of picks itself right now with Forrest, Anderson and Bailey. I think if we can keep on trying to get like a consistency within those three playing, we'll really start to see like the rewards from it, because I think Forrest and Bailey are very exciting. They'll get the ball and they'll go and look to create something, and I think that's what we need in that final third. Two players who are going to try and make something happen. Shinnie may be unfortunate in this kind of way, but if Pittman's back and fit, I'd probably put Pittman in as well. So Shinnie would probably drop to the bench for me. You'd probably say I would make the change would be, Ayo and Shinnie would come out for Pittman and Forrest, in my opinion. just kind of go to that 4-3-3. But if not, maybe Shinnie we could maybe go into up front as just somebody to try and use that experience up against like the Portuguese and that, try and hold the ball up and play the likes of Forrest and that through. But again, we're getting into that kind of a bit now with the recent form that we're on, that we have those options that I wouldn't be too disappointed to see them starting. I mean, like obviously I'm advocating for certain players, but from what we've seen recently, I wouldn't be devastated to see kind of different other options. But yeah, I think that's kind of the right way to go. I think we should go and have a go at them. I mean, how many times we've played Hibs recently since we've came up and there's been defensive mistakes in that. I definitely think we should go to, have proper attacking players in those areas to, really go and try and punish them.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, and we kind of spoke about earlier in the season that we had a lot of injuries and things like that. But I think Davey passed a comment as well that we're starting to settle down a little bit with players coming back in, being back available. You mentioned that midfield. You could see it being similar to what it's been in recent weeks, like Pitts, Omiyonga and Holt, who I think have complemented each other very well in there. As I say, Shinnie being back available kind of adds to that mix of options that you've got in the forward areas or in your midfield three. So it's certainly an interesting one, and it's a good headache for Davey to have rather than what team can I field. It's what team will I field. It's a good headache for Davey to have for kind of first real time this season. But it's going to be a tough game. As I say, Hibs have creative players kind of middle to front, but I always think you can get change out of Hibs. I do think this. I do think under Jack Ross they've become a bit more pragmatic, and they are more willing to kind of look at trying to keep a clean sheet more often rather than the style of play. But I still think there's always that Hibsness about them where you can rough them up, and if you do that and you unsettle them, you can get joy out of them. But Angus, we'll go on to predictions. What are you thinking for this one? Can we make it 5 games unbeaten?
I'm going to say yes, and this isn't just because Nicky was chinning us. Speaking of the game there, I was confident talking about it. I haven't really changed there. I'm going to go for us to win 2-1.
Thoroughly enough, Angus. That's exactly what I was going to say. I was going to go
again, isn't it?
I was going to go 2-1 as well. And again, I'll point out it's not because Nicky's pulled us up on our lack of confidence in the team. Not at all. No, I genuinely think we can pick up a win. Obviously, Hibs have not been in the best of form recently, and our tails will be up, especially after the kind of manner of our last few results. The late winner against Ross County, digging in against Dundee United with 10 men, the late penalty save at Celtic Park. I think the guys are going to be full of confidence going into it. It would be a great way to go into an international break off the back of a win against Hibs as well. So, yeah, I'm going 2-1 as well. And hopefully we're both right, and we can celebrate 3 points at the weekend.
Another thing to add to that is hopefully, come this Saturday, we'll have some glorious moustaches to be looking at. Obviously, the recent news, with Daniel Barden sadly being diagnosed with testicular cancer, the club have made, a great commitment to, raising money for, certain charities regarding that. And obviously, a lot of the players will be participating in November. So hopefully, we'll be seeing, a good couple of players. I mean, hopefully the likes of maybe like a James Penrice supporting like a Tash would be quite funny to see. Not sure if James is capable of growing facial hair yet, but we'll get on to that. But
I can't wait for our live game at the end of November where Scott Pittman's sponsoring a fantastic handlebar moustache. We're playing Rangers at Tony Mac later this month. I'm sure that'll be entertaining. But as I said a couple of weeks back, a few great characters in the dressing room, so I'm expecting a lot of boys to look like the boy on the Pringles boxes with some of their tashes come the end of the month. But no, great cause. It's good to see a club getting involved, and if you can, dig deep into your pockets and donate. I believe they're just short of £1,000 already, which is fantastic in terms of the money that they've raised. So if you can, obviously donate. I'm sure the players and the charity itself would be very appreciative of that.
That's it for this week's episode of Talk Livi. Thanks again to every single one of you for tuning in week and week out. If you can, we'd love to hear your feedback. Either leave us a review on iTunes or simply message us on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram.
As Angus said, we're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Search Talk Livi to find us, and you'll find all the links to our weekly episodes on there as well. You can also find all our episodes, including this one, on all good podcast streaming sites, including iTunes and Spotify. We're also on YouTube, so don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if none of those options suit you, all you have to do is head to our website, talklivipodcast.libsyn.com, where you'll find every single episode we've done over the last few years.
That's it again for this week. Thanks again for tuning in, week out, and let's hope for another great week following the Lothians Finest football team. Best wishes go to Kyogo, and he makes a speedy recovery. And come on, Livy!
Come on, Livy!
Livingston, oh Livingston, into that